This is me and my dear wife Nicoletta at the fanciest place we've ever been, the Cannes Film Festival. How did we get here? Hi, I'm Heinbach and it's good to have you back. I have arrived on the island of Amrum, where I'm in preparatory work for a film score. Amrum is filming right on the other side over here. And my mission now is to gather sounds of the area to see if they can be incorporated into the film score. The director, Fatih Akin, wished for music that sounds like the wind. So I'm gonna hunt for wind. And for that, I've brought this thing here with me. In here is an aeolian harp. I already got to test out once while I came over here. Let's pack up and walk along the beach. My recording setup is pretty heavy. I've got an Agro 4S in this bag. The wind harp doesn't weigh anything. It's just a bit bulky. The aeolian harp is an instrument that has been in use since ancient Greek times, and especially in German Romanticism of the 18th and 19th century found a resurgence. I need to watch my step. I'm sinking in here. Try not to get wet feet. Yesterday there was a lot of wind while I was waiting for my ferry, so I used that for a first test. But of course there were other noises, ships, airplanes, people talking. So I'm hoping for some quiet, but I think the beach is deserted enough that here I'll have no problems of being alone. I mean, look at this. No one's here. For the first takes, we're gonna go as close to the beach as possible, so we also get some waves, because they sound lovely. I think this is a good spot. Far and wide, no people. Yeah, let's set up here. And we are pretty close to the North Sea, so we also get some nice recordings of the waves. Wind harp unboxing. I've also added 2 contact mics. Oh, it's already playing. Can you hear that? Amazing. Okay, let's get it on its stand. For recording, I've got a Raikotti blimp together with a Raikotti dead cat, and in here are 2 Sennheiser AT40 cardioid microphones configured in ORTF setup. I got some sand in the connector. Probably as I set this down. That's not good. I sucked it out. Feel like this is like the thing you see in movies with the snake venom. Okay, you guys watch the levels for me, right? They're right here. And we're recording, and I'm not hearing anything. Oh, water. Gotta move further inland. I'm now using the piezo on one side and the real recording on the other side. I prefer the recording with the Sennheisers over the piezo recordings because there's kind of wind noise on the piezo, which is strange for me, but of course, this is still just a pickup microphone. So this has gotten out of tune. And I brought a tool to fix it. Let's see if I can do it without disassembling the whole thing. Harmonious recording after tuning. It's time to detune it. Maybe we can make a chord or something like that with the 4 strings. I wonder if they resonate if they have less tension. I'm gonna try it. This tuning sounds incredibly ominous. Wow. When you think about that people had access to these sounds eons ago, amazing. How did I even end up with this gig of recording an aeolian harp in the dunes? Originally, this movie was not supposed to have any music, but during the writing phase, Fatih discovered that he wanted something and he had the vision of having music like the wind as the soundtrack. When he told this to his friend, the actor Adam, he said, "Fatih, I know a guy." Adam is the cousin of my wife, Nicoletta, and he was familiar with my work. Fatih looked at my Instagram and what I do and my music and called me up, and we quickly decided to give it a shot, but not after I failed first. Because the first demo I did was noise filtered through a Rillinger filter bank with Harmona fan organ layered up top. Fatih didn't like that. It sounded too sci-fi, too aliens-like for him. But he enjoyed the fan organ, so I knew I needed to go into more organic acoustic direction. First thing I thought about was recording wind sweeping through wire fences. That's a beautiful noise, and I heard that a decade ago in Ireland for the first time. But then I thought, hasn't anybody done something like an instrument? And oftentimes it was the old Greeks that did something, as my wife would be fond to point out as a Greek. And the Greeks invented the aeolian harp, as I mentioned before. So that's why I'm right there scoring this Second World War drama with these instruments. I've recorded 8 reels of tape, which is a lot of kilometers. And I'm really curious how they sound, but I need to digitize them, which will of course take some time, especially because I want to print also half-speed and maybe even quarter-speed versions. So I'll be busy all night with that. During all the tuning, one thing happened. I broke one string and another one came loose. But that's ideal to show you how this looks inside. To tune it officially, you take out this screw, squeegee one. And then you take out this screw. Get out this tiny screw. I don't think you're supposed to do this a lot, since this is all, wood screws. But here we go. As you can see, this aeolian harp has only 4 strings, nylon ones, that are tuned usually to the same note, and that is A with a sharp. How you call that? Ice? Or I call it B in Germany. First of all, let's get this one back into action. I didn't break this one. And then I hope we can rescue this one, because I don't have a spare one. And I would like to record somewhere a bit more away from the sea, just for lower noise level tomorrow. Okay, got it. Just a bit more maybe, not too much. I don't want to over tighten this again. You might have noticed during the examples that the more I tuned it, the less loud it became. Because if everything is tuned to the same note, the whole body of the instrument will resonate more, thus creating more volume. If everything is different, you're gonna get less. That's good. Oh, I knew this would happen. Oh, ho, ho. It's just not enough string. It's just not enough string. Maybe there's a music store somewhere on this island. It's my only hope if I want to have 4 voices. I'm basically tuning it by ear to something that I like. Okay, let's hear how that sounds. So this is then for tomorrow to explore. There's too many cars, not enough wind. Second day it was Ebbe, meaning the tide had receded and I was standing in the Watt. This created a very different atmosphere and I used it to work on many different tunings. My only regret was not having brought another stand for the mic. That way I could have hit record, moved away and not have my closing rattle interfere. Still, the recordings ended up being wonderful, especially when played back at half speed on the Nagra. Back in my studio, I listened through all the recordings, and whenever a particular resonance sparked an idea, I layered it with my wall of test equipment, or a fan organ, or piano. But it was almost never more than 4 tracks, because the wind recordings themselves had such a rich sound. The elephant in the room was anything that I recorded there or made these pieces from, even used in the soundtrack. For me, I thought it does not matter so much. Maybe if there's like one melody, one thing that I got from those wind resonances and they would be on the soundtrack, it would already have been worth it and I would have gotten a very good feel for the whole scenery, for the whole film, and
yeah, for what it's about, because the movie is called Amrum and much of it was filmed there. I couldn't have set up the wind harp anywhere else. If I just put it on Tempelhofer Feld, I would have gotten very different birds, very different environmental sounds. So it was necessary for me to go there and do this experiment. But a film is a film, and what a film needs oftentimes decides itself in the editing room. So when I went to Hamburg to visit Fatih and Andrew in their editing room, I was rather happy to see that 8 of the tracks I had given them were already in the soundtrack. And from now on it was just, let's experiment with this, let's try this, this needs to be a little bit longer, there needs to be more intensity to that. It was a fantastic situation. Because of all the pre-production I had done, there was enough time and space to explore what could work in the soundtrack, how can we connect the scenes, and that was a very, very nice position. A lot of that stuff ended up on the cutting room floor, while things that I did earlier, they mostly ended up as the stereo mixes that I had originally made in the soundtrack. Here's an example where you can see the protagonist crossing the Watt, and it's just aeolian harp and a few chords on my old Bechstein piano. The best thing about the wind harp and the instruments I used is that they fit into the scenery, the island and the time. The film takes place right at the end of the Second World War in 1945. Even for scenes that required more tension, the wind harp recordings, combined with some test equipment, worked rather well, as you can see in this scene where the protagonist is asked to mimic a robber. The movie is in cinemas today, 9th of October, and it will see an international release. So it's not restricted to just the German-speaking audience. Check out your local cinema if it's happening there. As to the Cannes experience, it was frankly overwhelming to me. I was absolutely not used to this hype and glitz of the film business. I did get to meet some nice people, including the dad of the protagonist, who it turns out is a viewer, and even brought his own synthesizer setup to the hotel with him. Something I can very much relate to. So we got to nerd out, which was nice. The personal highlight though was going to the island once over that houses the fort where the man with the iron mask was interned. It was beautifully deserted and a wonderful contrast to the hustle and bustle of Cannes, and we even managed to reunite 2 desperate dog owners with their little dog, which was the best side quest ever. But all in all, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I might make a full soundtrack album to the movie, but what I've already done is create the Amrum tapes. This is all the aeolian harp recordings I made on the island and I didn't use in the movie. And it's just a wonderfully relaxing listen. So that is up on my Bandcamp. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments below or visit the Heinbach subreddit. It's a nice place. Also check out my newsletter where I cover books like this one about field recording, which I should have read before I went to that island. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye.